But I'm here with the director Javier Reyna, the director of Due Justice. This was kind of a fun movie, kind of like a pulpy thriller. I don't know what your take on this was, but I kind of saw this as a almost like a superhero origin of sorts, more less Spider-Man and more Punisher. But what was kind of the antithesis of this, and how did this movie start about?
Well, first of all, I'm kind of up to here with superheroes.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to think, okay, that's great, but how do I relate to that guy? Like I will watch Dark Knight, which I love. Like, yeah, if I had a guy like that, I also help people. you know, I was thinking as a regular human being, how will you actually do anything meaningful to create to come out from an event like this? And everything came from Sandy Hook,
Okay.
and that totally hit me in the like a kick in the stomach. The whole thing in Newtown, Connecticut, and I was a dad of two little kids at the time, so it was very easy to relate to the pain of what some of those parents could be going through. And that was the thing I kept thinking. What would I do if something like that would happen to my kids? And I will see a lot of people saying that they're I don't know, they believe in a lot of good things and they have to forgive and let it go. And I guess I realized I'm not a very nice person because I just went darker and darker and I just wanted to hurt whoever would have done that. And then the guy killed himself. And you feel like no satisfaction in a way. So I started to think kind of like Santiago in the movie, I would do this and I would do that until you realize, well, what if somebody actually did it? And that's where Max came from. I tried to give him a little background with some experience in some things, but I wanted to be a person who's already struggling somehow, and all of a sudden everything is taken away from him. But he's not a superhero, it's a regular dude,
Yeah.
no superpowers.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, he definitely doesn't have energy beams coming out of his hands. I see you've done like a lot of writing and a lot of directing. Is there one or the other you prefer? I'm guessing the way you describe how this movie came about, I'm guessing you get a lot of your emotions out through the page, I assume.
Yeah, everything I've written is not because I'm great at it or anything. It's just stuff I experienced or I heard or had conversations with. So, for instance, a good example is the conversation of Santiago with his kids in the car. I had that conversation telling my kids I'm broke, and the other one is like, I want to go to Japan. I'm like, are you kidding me? I want a truck. And I was like, okay, we don't see these things. And I wanted to see a movie that reflects a little bit of what a regular dad will go through while having a job, stuff like that. When you ask me what do I prefer, I grew up basically in the 70s. My first fantasy was after watching Jaws. And I came out of Jaws going like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I just love movies from that moment on. There is a time when you realize nobody's saying, hey, why don't you direct this for me? And I decided, well, I had to write something. And I was a late bloomer, and I did a lot of things in the 90s and trying to do things. And I became a stay-at-home dad. And then I'm like, I'm getting old. I'm not going to have a second chance. So I started adapting a book I liked, which was Region Red, which is a previous little movie I did. And then I started putting all these ideas I had in my head into a piece of paper. I already pre-edited, just like it's like the movie on paper, so I could just do them. So technically, I started writing as a way for me to do something and get a job.
Yeah. And your cast in this, like Jeff Fahey, he's great in everything.
Yes, yes, yes.
Enough can't be said about him. But you did mention Efren Ramirez, who he's a pretty fun character. Like, what was it like, kind of coming up with those characters? And then, like, when you write something and then you get these talented actors saying your words, what's that like? Kind of watching what you put on the page come to life.
Oh well, it feels fantastic just to see something I imagine all of a sudden a friend is saying it better than I imagine it, and nailing it and giving me the expression. I remember some of the things about Santiago is that I wanted to see a lot of. I didn't want to have just a tough cop. I wanted to have somebody who was very vulnerable, but from outside this looks like a closed door, but inside the guy has feelings all over. And even in little scenes like when he's at that crazy lady's house, and some guy is living in a gigantic TV. He has this look and these brown puppy eyes, is telling me what he's thinking, and I could see his brain cooking what's going on here. Um, so he just feels great when just with a look he can do something that you wanted him to say, and then boom, one look does it.
I don't know what the budget for this is, but do you know what the budget when you're writing something? Do you generally know what the budget for the movie is before you write
No,
it, or do you just write it and you're like, oh crap, we don't have this budget. We're gonna have to figure out a way to do this,
well,
or we might have to cut that scene, so on and so forth.
yeah, I mean, you start with great ideas. I want to do this, and I'm thinking, okay, let's say somebody says let's make this movie. Are they gonna give me $50 million? No, because I'm a nobody. So they're gonna get somebody else to do it. So how do I get to do it? So I've been trying to write with a budget in mind. I'm not gonna plan any time soon a UFO crashing into Bainbridge Island and Seattle goes in flames. So I try to keep things as realistic as possible, and just considering that I'm not gonna have the money to do it.
Well, assuming IMDb is to be believed, it says you were back in '95. You were a script supervisor on Dying Game.
Yeah.
What is a script supervisor? What was your job as that, and then how has that kind of informed your writing going forward, or just filmmaking in general going
Well,
forward?
that's a good question. I didn't have any education regarding film or writing, especially. I mean, I'm not an intellectual. I didn't go to college. I took some college classes in film and I kicked out because I didn't show up to class. There was a point where I knew I had to do something, and I started going to AFI, American Film Institute up in Hollywood, and I used to volunteer there in exchange for some workshops. And that included going to see Dracula with the producer right there in a Q&A, things like that. And working there, the students were producing stuff all the time. And there was this guy who had a list said, I'm making this movie, The Dying Game, which was a knockoff of The Crying Game. And have you ever read a script surprise or no? But I will learn it real fast. And back then I was carrying a Polaroid, following everything, every take to make sure that the next take, it was very unscientific. It wasn't like they do it today, where look, my script supervisor has an enormous amount of data. I was just trying to take photos on this film, trying to make sure the suits match and the shoes match, and the sodas in the left hand and the right hand. So I started down there.
That sounds like it'd just be a complete headache, though. It's like
Well,
like something's a little out of the way, and it's like Javier. It's like, oh, I tried.
But I was on the set, which is what I wanted to do. I did a lot of work as an extra in Hollywood, and I will do this extra gigs just to have money. But I wanted to be on the set, so a lot of times I would go and sneak all the way up to the cameras and where the directors were, and would be getting kicked out all the time for things like that. I just wanted to be on the set and see what it was like.
Is that what kind of led, like years later, like leading up to shorts, which led to Region Rat and Do Justice?
Yes, yeah, just little by little. I got a great mentor at Sony because I used to sneak in at Sony in Culver City a lot, and they would carry me out all the time. And eventually, I met Jimmy Honore, which back there he was the vice president of post production. And the guy said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm trying to learn how to make movies and all that stuff." And he said, "Okay, well, let's get you going somewhere." He got me a job working with Barbra Streisand on The Mirror Has Two Faces in post production. So that was another event where I was working at Barbara's house for 6 months. So it was a great environment to learn from people. They were really up there.
Yeah. What was that like working with her? Was that like I can't quite put my finger on like Barbra Streisand. She seems all right, but then someone that famous like tend to be like oh yeah, they're nice on camera, but you get them behind the scenes like ugh.
Well, she's very particular because she knows what she likes.
Yeah.
She will say, "I don't like that," and I think if James Cameron would say, "I don't like it," they'll be like, "Okay." But she will say, "I don't like it," and they go, "She's difficult to work with."
Oh.
But I mean, I always was very respectful that she knew exactly what she wanted. And as I was struggling back then, and I would say, "I did something and I hate it," she goes, "That means you learned something. You did something, now you don't like it because you learned through the process, and now you can do the next time you do something better." She goes, "I just finished this movie. I want to change some things, but it is what it is.
So basically, she's got kind of like the collaborator mentality of like
No, no,
this
no.
will
She
make.
likes what she likes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's same with me. I'm a control freak. So
Yeah.
everything with me, sometimes you ask a producer, is a fight because if I believe in something, I just like gotta stick to that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't work for me.
Well, I mean, you still got to take good ideas when they come to you. Yes.
Yeah, of course. You consider everything, but
Yeah.
ultimately you have to look at the big picture. And Barbara was always like that, but she's not a collaborator. She's more of a, I want to do this, and you know, I don't really need notes. I know this is going to work or it's not going to work. But as a person, as a somebody who's way above me, she was super sweet to me, super nice.
And also looking at your upcoming, like you got Do Justice, obviously, coming out on demand, digital theaters November 24th, but you also have a screenplay for Ruthless, a Balladeta de Hortensia, and Room of Love.
Ruthless is coming up in December 15th.
Oh, sweet. But
Ruthless is coming December 15th.
Were you just a workhorse? Like were all these four scripts like done around the same time, or were these like years?
Well, I was
work?
lucky enough when I was pushing this movie, the producers liked it. Moctezuma Esparza and Elias Axume liked the script. They gave me a big opportunity because I wasn't proven. And they said, okay, we're going to let you direct this movie. But they liked the script so much, I said, you know what? We have a couple of scripts that we're not happy about it. I wondered if you would like to rewrite them.
Oh, nice.
And that's how Black Warrants came out. So I was writing Black Warrants while my movie was on a schedule to be shot in a year or something like that. And then they gave me the script from Ruthless, and I didn't like it, and I didn't even want to work on it. He says, "Okay, how about just make sure it's in Las Vegas, and the main character is a guy, and do whatever you want." So I wrote Ruthless, and they got Dermot Mulroney to play in it, and I
Nice.
watched the movie, and it's pretty good.
And you said that's
Very
coming
good.
out in December?
15th, yeah.
Nice.
It was directed by Art Camacho, which is a guy who's done stunts for a long time. So he really gets action, which I don't. Actually, it's hard for me. He's really good with stunts, stuff like that. So they showed the movie like after we shot ours. And I just got the poster. If you look online, you'll see the poster with Dermot. It's a really cool poster with orange X's and all that.
Well,
Pretty neat.
that's gonna be pretty exciting for you, having like two movies almost not
I
quite back to
know.
back, but almost back
It
to
doesn't
back.
matter. No, it's just great. As long as, people like him, that's great. They don't like him, well, that's not going to be so much fun. But
Yeah, I judging on this one, I think he'll do all right. But
well, we hope so.
we have a what's in the box segment. In this box, we have people put in movies that they think are lesser seen, or it's like, that movie is really good, but no one talks about it. Is there a movie you'd like to put in the box?
I'm not following that. Tell me again.
Oh, so this would be a movie that you really like that you wish more people would talk about. So the idea is that you put a movie in the box, and then each week we pull a movie out of the box that someone put in there and go, oh, this is a movie we're watching for the week.
Okay. And where the question is?
Oh, what's a movie you would like to put in the box that we would pull out in the future? Just something you think's lesser seen that's really good that you really like that you
any movie in the world,
any movie in the world.
Oh God. Well, I will always put The Shawshank Redemption in any box as number one to read, watch, listen. The next 10 for me, if I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't say 10, but
Go for it.
I can go on, but I mean, I love human drama, so I will put Angela's Ashes, The Green Mile. Those are the movies that the human raging bull, anything that has that kind of drama totally gets to me, and that's the kind of movies I want to make, the movies I want to watch. I'm not a big superhero guy.
Yeah.
I really like this grounded drama. And when it comes to comedies, I tend to like British comedies a little more, as they seem to be more realistic with their characters. Like Notting Hill is a movie that is just all the characters are funny, but they don't go over the top. And sometimes, American comedies will seem to go a little bit on the come on, that will really never happen.
Well, Javier, thanks for joining me. And Do Justice will be available in theaters. Thumbs up there, on demand and digital on November 24th. And congratulations.
Well, thank you so much for the time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you making the effort to watch it and talk to me.
Yeah. It was a fun one. So hopefully,
Was there anything that you particularly liked that you thought, okay, at least I haven't seen that before, or
well,
that was so cheesy?
I really love Jeff Fahey's villain. He really came across strong, and that's kind of, I mean, I know you said you don't like the superhero comparison, but that's kind of part of what drew me there, because he's not over the top like Nicolas Cage when Nicolas Cage goes full Cage, but he's just over the top enough where it's like this guy's bad news, and I'm kind of buying him as a villain, which
Yeah.
usually in movies like this you get a villain that's like just blank face guy that has no sort of personality, and I think he was really strong in this.
Yeah, well, Jeff's character was a lot of fun to me because he's still who he is, but he's got to deal with mundane, like your wife, like you're a boss yelling at you in front of people, which is those are the moments when you see him vulnerable and about to pop his lid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And thank you for coming on. And good luck with the Do Justice and all the rest of your movies coming out. I'm looking forward to watching those as well.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.